Hello everyone, this is Robert, and in this video I'm going to show you how to turn these ugly, rusty steel parts into something a lot more attractive that also will not continue to rust. It's pretty simple. All we do is use this gun bluing solution, and that's about all there is to it, so let's get started. So before we get started with this process, let me go through some bullet points. What materials can you use cold bluing for? Pretty much steel. This is just a generic steel. This over here is 4140 chromoly, works on that. Stainless steels, brass, aluminum, things like that, it is not going to work, at least with this stuff. This company does make other solutions for aluminum, brass, things like that, but this is primarily just for steel, so keep that in mind. One of the nice things about cold bluing is it doesn't affect heat treat, which is critically important for these drive shafts that we have, and it doesn't dimensionally change the part. When you feel this, it is just the metal itself. There is no coating, there is no layer on top of it, so it doesn't dimensionally change, which is also very important for these shafts as well. This was a very tight, close fit, and it still very much is after the bluing process. That's something important. This is different than hot bluing, which is where you actually quench in oil. The problem with that is it can actually damage the heat treat. So this is cold bluing. The first step is to prep the part. One of the benefits of cold bluing is you don't need a lot of surface prep. Here I'm just using a bench grinder with a wire wheel, but you could use sandpaper, sanding block, whatever you have on hand. We're just kind of trying to get that surface rust off of the part. If you're painting something, you kind of need to do a lot of surface prep, make sure there's no inconsistencies, make sure everything is sanded nice, there's no dust on it. If you're doing anodizing, you kind of need to do this etching step. If you're doing powder coating, that surface needs to be just right. This is actually pretty easy, and we're not looking for a perfect surface finish. We're just looking for something that's relatively uniform. We really don't want it to be overly polished or anything like that. We're just looking for uniformity. For the first step, we need to clean the parts with acetone. I think like brake cleaner or something else would work too, but acetone is always nice to have on hand. And of course, we're wearing gloves because we're cleaning all the oils off of it, so we don't want to touch it afterwards. Also, acetone and the gun bluing solution are both kind of nasty for your hands, so this is the time where you should put on gloves. It's a good idea just to clean these as thoroughly as you can, because any parts that aren't cleaned, the bluing just isn't going to work as well. And here comes the fun part. This really does just kind of look like magic in person. A couple things to note. I'm just using a foam brush to paint this on. You can use pretty much whatever you want. It's a chemical reaction that happens, so it's not like you're really painting anything on. You're just kind of exposing the surface of the metal to the solution. Another thing is you want to separate the solution from the bottle. You do not want to dip your brush or whatever it is into the bottle. It will contaminate and ruin the entire bottle. So you always want to pour it out into another cup and then actually dip in from there. And you can use this maybe like a day or two, but after that it just kind of stops doing the thing. And then yeah, just kind of go over it as many times as you feel is necessary. It'll kind of stop doing its thing after a while, and then you're on to rinsing it off. As you can see here, I'm just using this Pyrex bowl of water to just kind of rinse off the excess solution on the outside. We're not trying to really wipe anything off. We're just trying to get that excess off of the outside and then rinse away anything that's left. Once you have these rinsed off, you're going to want to dry all the water off of them, and they will kind of have this really dull kind of gray finish to them. And the way to get this into the nice beautiful deep black is to soak them in oil. I'm not using anything special here. I'm literally just using canola oil from the kitchen. Any oil should work fine. It just kind of needs to penetrate into the surface of the steel part. And I'm just kind of coating it like this. I'll sit this on the workbench for, I don't know, at least a few hours. I tend to do these overnight just because it's kind of an easy process. I do it at the end of the night, and then in the morning just kind of wipe them off. But just letting them sit here in the oil for at least a few hours so it can penetrate in. So after the parts have sat in oil for some amount of time and then you wipe it off, here is what the finished product looks like. It is a really nice, consistent, uniform finish, and it just feels good, looks good, and this will prevent these steel parts from rusting and doesn't change the dimensions of them. So it's kind of a nice little finish for any steel parts where you don't want to change them in any way. So hopefully this gives you a little bit better idea about what cold bluing is and how to do it. As always, check me out on my Facebook page for any updates to my channel, and see you in the next video.